The ruins of Beit Hanun are cloaked in a haze of dust and disbelief. What once stood as homes and markets is now a landscape of broken concrete and twisted metal. Yet even as the destruction seems complete, new explosions thunder through the air, sending families scrambling for cover and rescuers racing against time to find anyone still breathing beneath the debris. A father, his voice hoarse with exhaustion, sends out a plea. "We're at our limit. Can't walk, we can't eat, we can barely speak. Our homes are gone, our children's dreams have vanished. The world must not look away." For some, life was cut short before it could truly begin. The night brought no rest for emergency crews in northern Gaza. They dug through the remains of what was once a family's safe haven. 3 bodies were found, but many more are still missing. And as the hours pass, hope dims. In Gaza City's main hospital, the ambulances no longer rush in with the injured. They arrive carrying the lifeless. Some victims are nameless, their identities lost in the chaos, while others are given hurried goodbyes before being laid to rest. Local officials report that over 140 Palestinians have died in the past day alone. The Israeli Defense Forces have escalated their campaign, launching a new operation they say is aimed at freeing hostages and dismantling Hamas. For Israel, this is a decisive move toward their military objectives. For Gaza's people, it means more funerals, more fear, and more families torn apart. For the international community, it's a sobering sign that diplomatic efforts have failed to bring relief or resolution. World leaders have spoken of peace and unity, but their words ring hollow on the ground. The latest round of ceasefire talks in Doha offers little comfort to those living under constant bombardment. Each new negotiation seems to be followed by another surge in violence, leaving residents feeling abandoned and hopeless. One mother, Maryam, recounts how her family's tent near a hospital was struck in the night. Her children have no toys, but that's the least of their worries. They now have no roof, no food, and no idea where to turn. To get a sense of the crisis inside Gaza's hospitals, we spoke with Dr. Samir Hassan, an emergency physician volunteering with a British medical charity. He describes the relentless sound of shelling and gunfire, the daily arrival of patients with severe injuries, and the dwindling supplies of even the most basic medical necessities. After a brief pause in fighting allowed some restocking, the shelves are once again nearly empty. Bandages, antibiotics, and painkillers are running out fast. Dr. Hassan explains that most of the hospital staff are local Palestinians, working tirelessly for their community, even as their own homes have been destroyed. The emotional toll is immense. Many patients arrive not just wounded but weak from hunger and fatigue, unable to recover in such harsh conditions. He shares the story of a family of 4, rescued from the wreckage of their home. They weren't hit directly by a bomb but were trapped under the collapsed walls. One child died soon after reaching the emergency room. These are the tragedies that haunt the medical teams every day. We also spoke with Sarah Williams, a spokesperson for a major children's charity, who has visited Gaza repeatedly. She describes the current situation as the most desperate she's ever witnessed. Constant airstrikes, tanks rolling through neighborhoods, and a population cut off from food, medicine, and aid for weeks on end. She warns that every child in Gaza is now at risk of severe malnutrition, and that this crisis is entirely man-made. Williams is critical of recent aid proposals that would force families to travel long distances to a handful of distribution centers in the south. For many, especially those who are injured, disabled, or caring for young children, this is simply impossible. She insists that only established humanitarian organizations, operating under international law, can provide the scale of relief that's needed. She also reminds us that, as the occupying power, Israel is legally required to allow food and aid into Gaza. Using hunger as a tool of war is not just immoral, it's illegal. As the world watches, the people of Gaza endure unimaginable suffering. The calls for peace grow louder, but for those living through the conflict, hope is fading. The need for immediate action, an end to the violence, and real access for humanitarian aid has never been more urgent.